Welcome to the Sports Wrap. George Ringer. Well,
What a sports week.
it's past mid-November. It's the 16th today. We're halfway to December, so
Louis Riel Day.
it is Louis. We didn't even mention that.
I should have, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't come up. So, well, we got to start with football, don't we?
We have to start with football.
We have to start with football. Well,
This morning, Mike Rand was still talking about the game, and this is Wednesday. So Monday they talked about it, Tuesday they talked about it, today's Wednesday, and it still came up.
do you know what game he's talking about? Have you been living under a rock? Come on, get it. Yeah. I'm going to say this, George. I sort of watched the first half. The grandsons were at the house. I was kind of watching. And then at halftime, I made an executive decision. It's nap time. And so when I woke up, it's third and about whatever for the Buffalo Bills with like 3:45 left in the game. And they're going to punt the ball to us. So I got to see everything except the Delvin Cook 81-yard touchdown run. They said he was running the third fastest running touchdown this season when he was wide open.
Yeah, he was walking away
I'm
from
like, Delvin Cook? Are we talking about the same guy?
Same guy.
Anyway.
I watched each and every play. By the end, Sue came to the solarium and I'm sitting on, she's going to check and see if I'm sleeping. I'm sitting on the edge of the chair and she says, "What just happened?" And I said, "Well, I'm not entirely sure how this came around." It was kind of like watching Twilight Zone football. It really was.
So I wake up out of this great nap. I mean, outstanding nap. And I'm like, okay. So I kind of get my bearings and I'm looking down. It's 27-23 and I'm like, oh, we got a chance to win this son of a gun yet. And Jefferson makes the catch. And we get down to the 2-yard line, or we get inside the wherever we get to, and we get to 4th and goal. And I'm already resigned to the fact that on third down, I texted Uncle Paul and I said, "Run or pass? I hope we pass." And we did. We went play action pass.
They did.
And it didn't work out. Okay, so we get 4th. Then they go offside. We get closer, right? And I'm like, pass it. I'm serious. Pass the ball. Do not run this football. And I don't want to say that I was right, but when he hit the ground, I was sure he was in the end zone. I thought he was in.
I thought he was too.
And then when they showed the replay, he wasn't. And I'll give the NFL, they got it right. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I had picked the Vikings to lose, so I was resigned to the fact that they had lost. And Paul's like, well, don't give up yet. They could get a safety, punt, and kick the winning field goal. And I'm like, holy smokes, he's right. Well, about that time, they snapped the football. And if you can believe this, I'm sitting in the lazy boy, nice and relaxed. And honest to gosh, when he fumbled the football, I'm standing in front of the TV screaming, we're going to win this game. Okay, so I had to give you guys the effect at home. We're going to win this football game. We're going to win this football game. Kind of like Paul Allen did on the radio. Well, then they went down and kicked the field goal. I'm telling you, folks, I thought I was having like a heart attack for 10 minutes. It was just like, it was this and this and this and that, and then they won.
Well, it's like one of the things when you have a rule book of football, they could say this is a situation, this is a situation. The second half had all those situations and a few more. So like I said, when I thought it was a twilight zone of football, everything that could go wrong did, everything that could go right did. The fact of it is that you have to get that quarterback-center exchange. That is the first thing you learn when you play football, absolutely the most important thing that you learn playing football. And then I come to find that Josh Allen, he's been having trouble in the red zone these days with fumbled footballs and
throwing interceptions
and the like that. And so, all this, and I mean, he's huge. He's 6'5", 230 something. It's like tackling a buffalo, for crying out loud. And so I can understand why they did it. I would have called the play to bring it out inside the one, but the thing of it is, you don't count at the professional level that a center quarterback exchange is going to go totally awry, and the ball never got in his hands.
Never got to his hands. It was interesting. I watched a little thing on Twitter, and I don't know if you can go and find it anymore, but they were talking with Hicks Harrison Smith and one other defensive player, I can't remember who it was, and they were describing that play. And Hicks said, I believe it was him, who said Harrison Smith picked up their audible call on which way he was going to go to which side of the center. And he said when Smith picked it up, you remember Smith diving over the top?
Yeah.
He already knew where Allen was going, so he was coming. So now did that get the center's attention or Allen's attention that they knew, that the Vikings knew?
He was in there like a rocket, and and Hendricks already had the ball, and you could see that, but Smith didn't know that. I think Harrison Smith is probably the most underrated guy in that defensive backfield these days.
Well, they're saying he's possibly a defensive player of the year candidate right now.
Hey, he get my vote.
So, okay, I'm gonna ask you to try to do something impossible. I think. Pick the biggest play of that game out. Pick one play that when all is said and done, that's going to be the play. If we're both around in 10 years, this is the play you're going to remember from that game on Sunday.
I think undoubtedly it's the defense crashing down and recovering that fumble in the end zone. That's very, very difficult to do at that level. And it's good to see defensive plays. On the other hand, Justin Jefferson had one of the finest days that any receiver's ever had. Ever.
Well, and here's the thing about it, folks. We've been talking about this football game for probably at least 5 minutes, and we hadn't mentioned Justin Jefferson's catch yet.
Yeah.
Didn't mention it. It's probably, some people are saying the greatest catch ever.
Well, and the thing of it is that it was not reviewed. It might have had a quick glance. Nobody complained about it. It was a real live, generous catch, and he just pulled that sucker in. How he did it, I don't know, but that set him up for their next play too. So they were all set.
Like I said, to me, it's amazing to think about that. We talked about this game and didn't mention that for the first 5 minutes, and like I said, it might be the play that everybody is going to talk about forever as being, I when I was a kid, Lynn Swan's catch in the Super Bowl against Dallas, the one-handed.
Yeah.
Lynn Swan catch. I mean, come on, that was the catch for years and years that you saw on every football highlight show. This catch
is Justin Jefferson the best receiver the Vikings have ever had?
Wow, that's a tough question, but the answer probably has to be yes at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Randy Moss is a Hall of Famer. Yes, Randy Moss did what he did. If Jefferson continues to do what he does, he will be better than Moss number-wise. Moss was such a freak of nature in the fact that he was so fast that he could just blow by you deep.
And jump up so high and catch the ball.
And he was so tall. Jefferson's a different type of receiver, but he's on pace to break all kinds of records. And we shared this factoid a little bit earlier today. He caught 10 balls in that game for 193 yards. 9 of the catches that he had a 50% chance or less of catching the football by the metrics, by the statistics that starts it at. Think about that. No, he caught 9 of them. No other receiver has ever had 6 catches in a game since they started keeping this.
And no matter how you do it, that's still 19 yards per catch. And
not a deep, and he really didn't catch a big long ball. And the fact that he caught a 70 or something.
That's chunk change, though, and it's just it was every time he went up, you were expecting something. I think right now that the reason that Vikings and Vikings fans are so stunned is this is way beyond expectation. And and I suggested earlier that the Vikings had a good chance beating the Bills in Buffalo because I think defensively they could cover the secondary. And that's where they've been kind of ripping everybody up, and they have a good team. They have good receivers. They have a great defense. But I think our defense really kind of shined.
Scary part is they brought a practice squad player off on Saturday. He's never played in the NFL before, and they put him in at the end of the game because they had to, because they had issues with concussions and such with the defensive players. And of course, Darrisaw got a concussion. They don't know if he's going to play this week. Although that's one of the first things I noticed when the Vikings got the ball back. I'm like, who the beepity beep is 64? Because that's not who's supposed to be there. What's going on? And they hung in there. they talked to Brian O'Neill, the right tackle for the Vikings, and he said, I gave up the one sack to Von Miller, but he said, 55 plays against them, and he said, I'll take 50 of them.
Yeah, and Von Miller's no schmuck. And, I think that they still have that weakness at right guard, and that's I don't know what they can do about that. Ingram's just going to have to develop.
Well, he's going to have to quit stepping on Kirk Cousins' foot.
He did that twice, and and that again is basic element. Now, I've seen a lot of quarterbacks tuck in behind that center, and they're in there awfully tight. There's not much room for them to get out. And and I had a discussion with a Gopher coach one time about having that quarterback so deep in between his guards and they fumbled all season with that. So it's a problem.
To me, and this is a line coach discussing it, to me, both of those times that he got stepped on, I believe were going to be run plays. Okay, so the quarterback should be stepping out.
Yeah.
But both times I think Ingram should not be going backwards. His foot, if he's got on a run play, he's got to gain ground.
That inside foot's got to go forward.
They're probably an inside zone or outside zone, so they're scooping. They're going to one way. But when he steps, he can't step backwards. He's got to step forward. Just a hair. So
well, and I have to say, I think Bradbury's game has improved immensely over last year, and and he's picking it up. And I think that the rest of the linemen are trying to help out Ingram whenever they can. But when you got a guy like Van out there, you got your hands full by yourself.
Okay, so after Philadelphia lost on Monday Night Football,
yes.
we're both 8-1, but they've got the tiebreaker, of course, because they beat us.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course, 7 teams make the playoffs. That means only the top seed gets to stay home on that first week. You got to play, and of course, it would be much better to play within the confines of U.S. Bank Stadium, you would think, for a conference championship game than it would be to have to go to Philadelphia or someplace and have to play outside, right?
Well, everybody kind of want to say that Green Bay is all done, but Green Bay took care of business down there at Dallas, and
blind squirrel fighting an acorn.
Yeah, whatever it is, we got to chase that acorn ourselves this weekend, and if Dallas
I'm saying Green Bay is the blind squirrel.
I understand.
They got lucky. Come on. Hey, Dallas gave them that. Here, we feel bad for you. You're 3-6. Come on.
Dallas don't feel bad for you.
We want you to put some pressure on the Vikings so that they don't play so well against us next week.
I am looking forward to this game. I think this is a challenging game. I knew that number one, I didn't think Dallas would be anywhere near this good.
Despite the fact that I picked them to go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, they lost the quarterback first game, and they've had all kinds of problems, and I can't believe
people are saying they were better without Dak at the quarterback.
Well, they were playing really well. Besides, what do you need a quarterback for? Hand off the ball.
Turn around, hand the ball off to Pollard and that other guy.
But I think that they really, that says a lot for the coaching staff to bring in a green quarterback like that and play as well as he did.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Dallas got up 28-14, if I remember right in the game. I think I remember seeing. Did they take their foot off the gas? That's what I'm asking. Did they just whatever? But again, it's the NFL. The Vikings were down 17. Remember, 27-10 before Delvin went the 81 for the touchdown and got themselves back into the game.
Hey, when those Commodores on Sunday, they looked like they wanted to beat people too. I mean, they kind of took that game away from Philly. And,
Washington definitely. The Vikings had played them the week before, and so it's that to them. That's a division game. That's a pretty big game for Washington and Philly. And the scary part about Philly was they had 4 turnovers in the game. Think about this, folks. Through the first 8 games, they had 3 turnovers the whole season in 8 games, and they had 4 on Monday night.
And there is another team in that division as well.
You want to talk about the New York Football Giants?
The New York Football Giants.
Merely 7-2.
They're 7-2, and you wouldn't have picked that beginning of the year either.
I'll say this: Saquon Barkley blew his ACL out last year, and I thought it's all done, it's all over. No, he's got that Adrian Peterson edge to him. he's full go, and that's part of the reason.
You know me. I'm a running type coach, and I like to have those guys. They're really doing well. Jonathan Taylor and Barkley and several other of these running backs. Hey, they can scoot, and then we have one of our own, if not two.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is. They're fun to watch.
You want to talk about scooting? How about Justin Fields?
Let's talk about Justin Fields.
I had to bring it up.
I like Justin Fields since the get-go. I always thought he was an extremely exciting quarterback, except when he was playing against the Gophers. And he is fun to watch. He is. I've said this for years. That is the quarterback of the future, and if he can stay healthy.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You can. How fast can you go through them?
Yeah.
You know, those guys don't grow on trees.
No, and those linebackers are really big and they're really fast too.
So 178 yards rushing 2 weeks ago for Fields, 147 in the game this past week, including a 67-yard touchdown run. So, yeah, he's doing okay.
When you got a quarterback that you have to have a special column for his rushing yardage, you got a good quarterback.
So I'll go back. I think I kind of skewed myself off of where I wanted to go. Okay? Are the Vikings going to win the conference?
Yes.
They're going to have the best record in the NFC. They win, not the division, the conference. They're going to have a better record than Philly.
I think they're going to have a better record than Philly. Philly's got a tough schedule the rest of the time, and not that the Vikings have a give me, but the Phillies, they've got to play New York. They've got to play Dallas again one more time.
And I'm not so sure they don't play Washington.
I'm not sure they don't play Washington again.
So, anyway, having said all that, there you go. And, of course, that would be nice. The Vikings have won 7 consecutive one-score games if you count 8-point games, and I do. And so that matches the NFL record set by the 2020 Kansas City Chiefs. I have a feeling if the Vikings are going to beat Dallas, it's going to be another one-score game. I don't think that's going out there and making a huge prediction, but this game on Sunday is going to be close.
Well, when the season started, and even at the end of last year, we knew that they were going to have to do something with the defensive secondary and with the defensive. They were going to have to, redesign their whole program there. But that defensive secondary has really come on down. They are playing very, very well, and those receivers don't want to get into that mess because they can hit as well.
Why did they play so deep in the prevent when Buffalo went down and kicked that field goal to tie the game? Why are they playing so deep?
Well, because they're afraid of this. And
then the NFL gave Buffalo 2 calls. One on the catch that probably kept the drive alive, and they never would have kicked the game-tying field goal. And then we get 1st and goal at the 2-yard line, and let Buffalo have 12 guys on the field. Those dirty cheating.
Well, you know they're going to cheat. I mean,
they're going to cheat. That's the way they do things in Buffalo.
That's the way they do things in Buffalo.
Anyway,
yeah.
Let's talk Gopher football.
We can talk Gopher football.
Here we are, George. This is November 16th, and basically, let's go back to about October 16th. We had left the Gophers for dead. That was over. The season was whatever.
I sold all my sweatshirts, but I got
it. And yet here we sit on November 16th, and if the Gophers win their next 2 games, and Illinois loses to Michigan, which they're going to probably, the Gophers are going to the Big Ten Championship.
Isn't that something?
What?
Yeah.
What?
No, if they go to the Big Ten Championship and they take 2nd place, that mean they get invited to the Rose Bowl?
Well, maybe. I doubt it, but maybe.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
I would doubt that the Rose Bowl would either take the 1-loss Michigan or the 1-loss Ohio State. The one team that's not in the playoff Final Four. That's the loser of that Michigan-Ohio State game is going.
Well, the top 5 and the top 6, it presents some pretty interesting situations there because you still have some undefeated teams and you still have,
But really, it can be very simplistic in the fact that we know Ohio State and Michigan are going to play, like I said last week. Whoever loses that game is out. Yeah. No, you're done. You're not making the Final Four. You're going to play in a nice New Year's Day bowl game someplace nice and warm. You're going to bring in a whole bunch of dough, but you're not going to be playing for the big show. The winner is, okay. Now you got Georgia. Okay, Georgia's could very well win out. Okay. And then you've got Tennessee who could possibly win out. But Georgia's sitting at number 1, and if they were to lose the SEC title game to LSU, which is a possibility, do they drop to 5?
I don't know, because they really, really put the whop on Tennessee, and so Tennessee, if they're going to have to come back,
you can't put Tennessee above them.
You can't.
But if LSU beats Georgia in the SEC,
that's a different deal.
Well, then they got to be in the big. Then they got to be in the 4, right?
In there because Tennessee beat
Okay.
LSU, yeah.
So we are gathering that Georgia can't possibly be out. No, the scenario, unless they lose twice, there's no scenario where
that's
Georgia's.
not gonna happen.
Okay, Michigan or Ohio State is in. There you got two. TCU is probably not going to lose. They're into the Big 10 or Big 12 championship game.
Good team.
So they're in. So you got three teams that are in. There's only one spot left over. And now is that going to be Tennessee because they're not going to lose again? They're not playing the SEC championship game. Do they move up into that spot? They're number 5 right now. Okay.
They might.
LSU moved up to number 6. Depends upon whether they win the SEC championship game. And then you got USC sitting there waiting in the wings at Pac-12 after Oregon choked against Washington at home. Oh, what a tangled web.
Yeah, it all
Can we
fell
hardly
apart
wait for
goal.
12 so that this Or wait, will we complain what the 13th place team got screwed as well? Yeah, okay. But at least we'll have the top 12 in there.
At least we'll have the top 12.
Okay, all right. So Gophers, Iowa this week. You and I are going to be
Yes.
there in the 20-degree temperatures. Ideal for running the ball.
It is.
Ideal for playing defense.
Yes.
Right up these two teams' alley.
Well, you know what, I tell you, one of the things about that field is I'm not sure that the temperature is going to bother the players at all. They'll have heat down in the field. That field is a heated field, so it's not going to be an issue with them running the ball. The issue is going to be with me freezing to death up in the stands, but we'll get through that. No, I'm looking forward to this. When was the last time they got that pig?
In 2014
See,
was the last time they had Floyd.
8 years. It's time we got Floyd back. And
It is time to get Floyd back. I watched a 0-0 girls hockey game last night through regulation. How many points do you think we're going to see in this game on Saturday? Seriously, what's the number?
This could be one of those. This could be one of those 14-7 games. This is going to be an
10-9?
big 10-9. This is going to be an old Big Ten smash mouth football game.
13-10, somewhere in there.
And to keep in mind, Iowa, their offense has struggled throughout the year, but their defense is pretty solid.
The defense is very good.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if there's more than 30 points scored in this game. I'm
would
being
too.
serious about that. I'd be shocked if there's more than 30 points scored.
Maybe Big Mo can break away for a couple, but a lot of this, he's going to have to carry the ball. He's going to have to carry the ball 25 to 30.
I was going to say 35 to 40 times.
He's going to carry the ball a lot.
Yep.
And so if they can keep that ground game going down there in front of the home crowd, I think they got a good chance of beating them.
Yeah, so if the Gophers could win a couple, and you would think that Illinois would lose to Michigan at the Big House on Saturday. That opens up the door, but of course the Gophers got to win at home against Iowa, like you said, who have them beaten since 2014, and then they got to go to Camp Randall and beat the Cheeseheads.
Which is no small deal.
It's no small deal.
I've been to Camp Randall when it's full, and they're nasty people.
I was at Camp Randall many years ago as well. Yeah, on a very cold November day, I remember it. Yes.
There's really no place like it. It's an incredible place to watch a football game.
What else happened in college football on Saturday? I didn't really get to watch a whole bunch of any of it because I was at the section swimming meet. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Well, there was some games. Alabama finally got back on the win sheet and
Barely over Ole Miss.
barely over Ole Miss, and it's. There was some good football all the way around, but I was kind of surprised that Bo Nix got knocked off. They were talking about him being football player of the year and all the rest of that. And
when is Big Mo going to start getting some love? 18 consecutive games with 100 yards plus rushing, and no love for the Heisman yet. Those dirty.
You got to have. I'll tell you what, Minnesota is really shy of that deference, and you get kind of tired of it. And if they win the pig and they get the axe back. And wind up, who knows?
George and I are going to put our money together. We're going to start a campaign for the Mo for Heisman drive and see what happens.
There's got to be somebody working on it down there.
I'm sure there is. Division II playoffs are set, and Bemidji State, for the first time ever, is going to have a home playoff game.
Well, and they deserve it. I mean, and UMD, they didn't get an invite, and they didn't.
There are people out there who are saying that UMD got screwed.
I'm not sure they did. I think
they were playing good football at the end of the season. We're not playing so good at the start of the season, playing good football at the end. That just tells you got to play the whole season.
You got to play the whole season.
But some folks are saying that UMD got, if you
look at the teams they lost to. And
that's where they're going with it. The teams they lost to are in. So how can you? Yeah. Anyway, UMD's not in, but Bemidji State plays Winona State. Mankato State is in Division 2. So we've got that going on. Division 3. Of course, they had the MIAC championship game last week, and St. John's beat Bethel at home after Bethel beat them in the third week of the season. So St. John's is the #1 overall seed in their quarter of the bracket. There's 32 teams in Division 3. Bethel made it, and then Northwestern out of St. Paul won the UMAC, so they get the nice task of playing St. John's. And I don't know if St. John's is going to put 90 on them, but I bet they put 70 on them.
They probably will. They probably will. And then I guess we can't ignore St. Thomas either. They're doing real well.
St. Thomas is doing real well. It sounds like they are going to win their conference championship.
In their second year?
In their second year, yeah. And so, but that probably will lead to, I don't know. We'll see what, are they eligible for the playoffs? I don't even know
I'm not sure if they are.
If they is or if they isn't. So, anyway, last week of FCS, or FCS, I had it right, games. So, big one, of course, is North Dakota versus North Dakota State. We'll be at Huntington Bank Stadium at the same time that game is being played, and I would love to be watching that one.
That would be a good one.
North Dakota State already got a couple of losses. They,
there was a number of years when those two teams didn't play, and I always thought that should have been a crime. Maybe not a felony, but it's certainly a misdemeanor. And because that game is like no other. This is kind of the epitome of what small college football is about. And Moo you and Sioux sucks. I mean, it's all there.
Let's talk a little high school football because the state quarterfinals were played last week, and Mountain Iron Buell came through with a 42-28 win over Kitson County Central. They now play, tomorrow morning, as it's Wednesday, they play tomorrow morning, and I'm going to have to find some way to fit that into my busy schedule tomorrow morning. I believe at 10:30 they get started with the first of the 9-man semis. And, of course, they've kind of been talked about that they have our team that's going to finish it, that they're going to get and win this state championship. So we'll see if they're able to do that. Damian Tapio, who we had a chance to watch beat North Central in the section semis, only rushed for 315 yards last week in the state quarterfinals.
No, I tell you, Mountain Iron Buell reeks of championship. They do. They think that they can beat anybody. They go out there and they prove it. They have a very fine football team, and what do you want to say? An enthusiastic coach. They have all the tools. What you don't know is what some of these other 9-man teams have, because they're an amazing amount of athletes that play in that 9-man football.
Deer River also advances in Class A. They defeat Monoman Waban 26-14. They got a late touchdown that they really didn't need, but they got it anyway to kind of put the insurance score on it. So they're off, and they play in the state semifinals on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. That'll change your attitude about playing football. It's always a tough time of the day to get ramped up to play ball.
Well, it is, but boy, once you go out there and get that first hit in, it's football, and you forget about what's going on then.
We watched Deer River, of course, take down the Broncos mid-season. We were impressed.
We were impressed, but you don't know how good they really are until all of a sudden they reach this level of competition. You say, hey, they were as good as I thought they were.
Mark Franz and his Rogers football team advanced into the state semis as well. So congratulations to Mr. Franz and his team.
A nice guy. You couldn't find a better one.
Moose Lake Willow River loses to, I'm already going to call them state champion Barnesville, if anybody wants to fight me on that. I mean, there's 3 other teams out there that think they have a chance, but good luck. Anyway, Moose Lake Willow River loses 21-0 to Barnesville. Esco loses 21-17 to Dilworth, Linden, Felton. In certain circles, they were the #1 and #2 teams in the state that played there. Esco had first and goal inside the 10-yard line in the final minutes of that game and took 3 penalties to lose that ball game, 21-17. So Esco had their season come to an end, and of course, I'm going to go watch a little football on Friday down at the Dome and just see what happens. Kind of go relax, have a little have some nachos and a soda, and watch some high school football. Can't get much better than that before
No.
watching the Gophers.
No, you'll have a good time.
Living the dream, baby.
Yeah.
Have we talked enough football?
Yeah, but I tell you what, we're reaching the peak here, and it's coming on the next couple of weeks. And of course, the 10th of December is the Army-Navy game. And
I can't believe it's November 16th. That's the first time he's mentioned Army-Navy game. That is incredible. That's incredible, folks. I was wondering if he had
No.
forgotten about it or something.
no, it's just, and I watched Navy here a week or so ago play Notre Dame, and they really stuck in there for a while, and they played them hard, but then Notre Dame kind of just took over, and they're coming after Clemson, and so, they let those big beefy offensive linemen do the number, and they were able to pull apart. But I'll tell you, Navy and Army, they haven't had a great season, but that is of no meaning.
Yeah, when it comes to the game.
It comes to
To
the game.
the game.
Yeah.
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 Of course, I mentioned I missed the Saturday college football because I was at the section swimming and diving meet doing a telecast. Some of these young ladies can swim and dive like you can't believe.
Watch it on TV. They were just flying through. They got propellers.
That's a good way of putting it. Geely Stenson and Sophia Verke and some of these other ladies, they were double winners. It was fun. Somebody asked me about broadcasting and how my day was, and I said, I could be saying watching college football today, but this is a pretty good second choice, and it was exciting. So of course the diving competition for Class A was this afternoon. So good luck to everybody I had a chance to watch and talk to down there at the state swimming and diving meet.
Yeah, you had a good time. It seemed like nice and warm too.
Too warm.
Yeah.
Had to bring a pair of shorts with, and I still was sweating. Let's talk about the Minnesota Wild, if we might, for a moment. Found out today that Marc-Andre Fleury is out of the lineup for tomorrow night due to a upper body injury.
Well, I don't know what's going on, but they have to have more than Kaprizov scoring goals. And right now he's having one of those deals where he can score a lot of goals, but he's getting no help from anybody else, and so offensively I see them kind of pale. Defensively, I think they're playing pretty well, although Fleury, you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that was
with him.
yeah, exactly. And of course, early in the year, we couldn't stop anybody from scoring goals, and we were scoring goals like crazy at times. But this is a concern, and Matt Boldy came up last year mid-season and had a really nice season. He's been there occasionally. Marco Rossi scored goal after goal after goal in the preseason. Can't find the back of the net right now. He's gripping that stick like he's trying to choke somebody to death. I saw a shot, I think, from must have been Sunday's game against San Jose. I mean, a shot that he should get into the top shelf of the net, and I mean, he missed the puck. It hit the side of the net and never got up in the air. So he's pressing too much.
Well, the
I hate to say
coaches
they can't send him to Iowa, but right now I think he needs to go to Iowa to kind of settle the nerves, find his groove, and then come back up. But they don't seem to be willing to do that
Well,
right
the
now.
coaches say that they're doing everything they can to get shots, and that the only thing that they're not doing is finishing up and putting the shots in a net. So they say they're not going to change a whole lot right now because they think that this is going to come. But I do know that one goal scorer in that league, that isn't going to work.
Dean Evison said the other night the loss on Sunday to San Jose after they were up 2-0. San Jose scores two late goal and they lose in the shootout. That we played dumb. It was a dumb loss. We deserved to lose because we're playing too cute. So here's my complaint, George. If the team is playing too cute, who changes that?
I
The
don't know.
players or the coach?
Well, I think in some instances it has to be the players because, these guys,
They're
can all pass,
professionals?
either professionals, they can all pass the puck, they all know what they want to do. Theoretically, an assist is as good as a goal, or should be. And, and they have to be playing, for each other. This is no different than the Timberwolves are doing right now. They're not
Last
really
week I
playing
went after
together.
Chris Finch. This
Yeah.
week I want to go after Dean Evison.
I
He
agree.
cannot walk into a press conference and say we played dumb and not look at himself in the mirror and say, well, then that's my fault.
There's got to be some. There's got to be some.
You better sit some guys during the game, and he's saying he did. Well, did you or didn't you? that are playing cute, that are playing East-West hockey instead of North-South hockey. So, yeah, Dean, I think you're going to find yourself on the unemployment line, even though you think you got this great team. If I'm Bill Guerin and I hear him say that, I'm not happy about that, because he's the one who can change that.
Yeah.
By playing time, by dressing or not dressing. Guys, hey, you're a healthy scratch tonight. Coach, why? Let's go watch the tape. I'll show you why. I don't like the way you're playing. So I think he has to take a little bit of onus.
I think if this doesn't change in the next couple of games, there is going to be some changes. There has to be.
Somebody-
What are they 7-7? And they, and 7-7-2 or something like that.
But they're in the playoffs, George.
I know.
We're in the playoffs still.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We could go down the college hockey road, but we're not going to go there. Although I should mention that the Elijah got to meet Blake Biondi last week, and it was and I wasn't there because of section swimming. Boy, I'll tell you, that was a tough sell. That was the other place to be on Saturday, but boy, he was excited to meet Blake Biondi, and so it was pretty cool that he got to do that. So, yeah, let's talk a little basketball. Let's start with the college ranks. Let's start with the Gopher women.
They're playing well.
2-0.
Yeah.
I didn't like the fact that they gave up 99 points to Lehigh.
No, but you know what I was really kind of amazed about is these women's teams are so good that they're putting up 100 points. I would never have thought of that before, but I took a look. It was 105 to 99. And I thought, boy, there wasn't much defense, but can they get up and down the court?
Yeah, the big thing there, Lehigh has 4 women from Minnesota that play on the
Yes,
team.
I know.
That's the reason why to bring in Lehigh. And of course, it was just announced yesterday that UConn is coming to Williams Arena next year to play, because of course Paige Beckers will be back, and they would love for her. So they'll pack the Williams. Williams will be full up, and it'll be an exciting game. And Connecticut will win by 42 points, and we'll go on. But anyway, it won't be that much.
No, it won't.
But Mara Braun, one of the freshmen, and I'll keep mentioning Mara's name because, like I said,
I mention her name a lot before she's done.
yeah, 34 points the other night, hits the game-winning 3 down 1 with
Yeah.
1.7 or 1.9 seconds. She catches the ball, basically spins 180, throws it up, and she rattles it home. And she, don't take this wrong, Mara or Chris or Ramona, she looked uncomfortable. I'm sure she's hit that shot 1,000 times in her shooting out in the backyard, and she's probably done it in a few high school games herself along the way. But she almost, like, the attention was just like, we won the game. That's what I want.
And keep in mind, we knew that there was going to be a bunch of young players on this team, and it's going to take a while, but well recruited and a great recruiting class. It's a matter of time to watch them grow, and pick
I thought Braun would be good. I think she's been better than I expected her
I
to be
think
through
she
2
has
games.
too.
That's not to say that she won't.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, other teams are going to start taking notice that number 10 has scored 34 points in 20, whatever it was the first game, 23, I think. And they're going to start looking and say, well, we got a defender. No, it's going to be a true test. And, of course, when you get into the Big Ten and you start playing against the Big Ten teams where the guards are probably a little bit better, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But this is part of the growth process for this
Yeah,
team.
it really is.
And so it'll be fun to watch.
It will.
They play North Dakota State tomorrow night, so we'll see what they do against the Bison. Of course, the Gopher men lost for the first time the other night, and of course, they are now 2-1. They haven't played a game with Jamison Battle, probably their best player.
No, they haven't. And boy, I'll tell you, it shows. I mean, DePaul, they had the average age of DePaul is about 24 years old, 25 years old. They got great, big, strong, older guys in the middle, and Battle always kind of negated that. There was no negation of that. They kind of had their will in the paint, and then of course it didn't help that the Gophers couldn't find a net. So
They missed some bunnies.
they missed bunnies. They scored 20 points the first half. I mean, that's not a lot of buckets.
Especially when it's on your home floor.
Home floor, and I mean, yeah, the band screaming and kids there with their pig hats on, and we'll go down. We'll see those kids. They get all wound up at Gopher games.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
So, how about the Timberwolves? Where are we at on the Wolves?
I tell you, I don't know where they're at. I do know that they're not going to be making a whole lot of changes. Chris Finch is going to still be there, and I don't see them making any trades. On the radio today, they said what they have to do is take the starting five that they have, because they don't have anybody else to start instead of that starting five, and they're going to have to learn to play together.
So, my thought is, are we going to have to take them on one of these? Remember the Vikings back in the '80s? I think with Les Steckel went to like New Mexico, and they went to this retreat thing. I think these 5 starters for the Wolves should get together. They should put them in a room and get Ant and Cat and Rudy and D'Lo, and they all should go in the room, and they shouldn't come out until they're all friends. Now, or beat the crap out of one another to get it out of their system, because as Finch said the other day, we've got too much me before we, basically, is what he said.
Well, I think that's true.
It's my turn to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, it's your turn to shoot the ball. Well, wait a minute now. Can't we just take the best available? And if one guy scores 40 one night and he only scores 18 the next night, can't we live with that?
Well, you know, and like they talked about, the whole idea of this was to take the big cat, take some of the defensive pressure off of him by adding Rudy. And that just hasn't happened. And so
we're having the same issue. We're not rebounding the ball real well.
No. And when we're rebounding well, we're not shooting well. So they just have not brought it together at all. And there are times that they play very well. There are times they're almost an embarrassment.
Yeah, Naz Reid has been out. I don't think that's helping. He had a phenomenal start to the season. Him healthy makes a big difference for that team. So yeah, they're 6-8. They get Orlando tonight, who was a lottery pick last year, and of course they took Bencheros out of Duke. So of course they've got him, and then Jalen Suggs is also there. And I don't know if Jalen's going to play tonight. I know he was injured, so we'll see if he's in the lineup for Orlando tonight as well. But yeah, don't the Wolves. Okay, 6-8. Okay. Now, I think before the season, if I said they were going to get to 50 wins, I think we'd have been happy. 50 wins is still if they can get there.
Well, you know, and I tell you, one of the pundits said today, what happens is they forget to play with enthusiasm, and you were saying that the other day, especially on defense. He's standing there watching the game with hands, and what did he say? They're standing there watching the game, and you shouldn't do that when you're on the court.
No,
that's not the time to watch.
I said, hopefully they'll get things organized. All right, so football, basketball, hockey, baseball. They're handing out their awards. Rookie of the Year were handed out, Manager of the Year. So Cy Youngs will be around shortly. We'll talk about those next week. And of course, there was a big trade today in the majors. Teoscar Hernandez from Toronto is on his way to Seattle.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, what's Toronto doing? So I don't know if he's at the end of his contract. I didn't have time to investigate while we were taping the Blues Hour. That came across my phone. So we'll see where things are going to go over the next couple weeks. This is what's going to start happening. Free agency will get started, and we'll be doing that. So, well, I suppose we kind of got talked. I should mention that girls hockey, Bronco girls hockey, does start tomorrow night, as I'll be in Silver Bay to cover the Bronco girls. And again, Fort Francis, 21 seconds into overtime, kind of an exciting win last night. In overtime, like I said, it was 1-0, but hey, a win's a win. In league play against your rival from St. Thomas Aquinas, the Saints, those dirty...
There's no such thing as an ugly W.
Last week I put George on the spot and said he had a week to get his act together and get all caught up on the World Cup. Look at this. Copious notes on the back of a ballot. Anyway.
All incumbents on the ballot. The judges back there. But anyway, hey, we got 64 matches in 28 days. You got 32 teams. And they're just a process of elimination. The round of six, well, they're going to start here on the 21st. USA plays Wales. And then they play England on the 25th. And then Iran on the 29th, which might be kind of an interesting game. And then the round of 16 starts on December 3rd and goes to the 6th. And the final is on December 18th, 10 o'clock Eastern. Brazil and Argentina, they're the teams to beat in Qatar. That's where they're playing in Qatar, and they're playing it in the winter because it's lousy to play there in July.
And they're playing it at other times of the day than more than normal because of that, and because the United States wants it on in prime time.
They do.
And guess what happened? So I get it.
Yeah.
But you were telling me that you asked me to guess where the USA ranked out of the 32 teams, and I told you like 18 to 20 somewhere in there. That's where they were until they picked their team the other day, and lots of surprises. And now they're ranked what?
Well, I had them down here, but this is the power rankings, and so this could all be changed. But they were out of 32 teams, they were 26.
26.
Yeah.
And this is a team that some people were forecasting before they picked the team that could make the quarterfinals, down to the final 8. We're going to find out if this team if Coach made the right choices on the guys that he picked and didn't pick. I don't know enough about it to know whether he did or he didn't. And probably he doesn't and nobody else, but he apparently had a feeling on some of these guys. And am I going to be watching soccer over the next month from November 20th to the 18th?
You got to watch the Wales game.
Whoa, wait a minute now. That's on the 21st,
That's
right?
the 21st,
That's
yeah.
a Monday.
Yeah.
What time of the day is it on?
2 o'clock.
Oh, in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Oh, I can fit that into my
Yeah. And then we got teams. The big teams are Brazil, Argentina, Spain, the Netherlands, France, Denmark, Uruguay, Germany, England, and Croatia are the top 10. So
you want to pick one of those to win it? Pick one, because what the heck? We know nothing about nothing, so we got nothing to lose.
I'm going with Spain.
Okay, I said something about France last week. I'm going to go with France. I'm going to stick there. Obviously, any one of those teams can win it. You don't know what's going to happen with injuries and everything else, but I'm going to take France. Just
not a lot of people in this country are going to be watching these games, but a billion people will watch the final.
Yeah, and I think there'll be more people watching it than we really believe because. I hate to say this, during the summertime, people are outside. They're outside doing stuff. Guess what? It's November. Buffalo's talking about a big storm, whatever else. What are people going to be doing? They're going to be inside. Well, what am I going to watch? Oh, the World Cup soccer's on. Well, this could be okay. I know there's people out there that won't watch soccer, and you know who you are. Whether it's good soccer or bad soccer, you don't care. Soccer has a different momentum to it.
Well, on this not only has nationalistic appeal, which nationalism has it has a white and black side, but nationalism in terms of sports, I think is healthy, and it's just the Chinese Americans diplomacy started with a ping pong game, and so you can have that, and Russia and the United States were great wrestling competitors and all that stuff, and that we've kind of lost. We're going to start playing ping pong and wrestling again.
Maybe that would help. But I agree. The whole World Cup idea, obviously, it's big. Bigger in other parts of the world. The planet will stop moving for some people, basically, while this is going on for the next month.
I think the next World Cup is going to be Mexico, the United States, and Canada are going to be the 3 hosts.
Closest I believe that we can go watch a game, I believe, is either in Winnipeg. I think it was one of the cities. And then in the States, the closest is Kansas City, which is only 10 hours. So I personally, bucket list thing to do. Kids, are you listening? I know they already. Do you know what they gave me for my birthday?
No, I can't.
You know what they, I'm going to restart this. Do you know what they wanted to buy me for my birthday? They wanted to send me to the Rose Bowl because they heard me talking about this, that we were going to go, and I told Nita, only if the Gophers are playing. I'm not going to go. Well, I'd love to go watch the Rose Bowl every year. So they gave me money. This is the start of the kitty. This will help defray the cost when the Gophers go. Well, I mean, as long as we're talking girls and Eli, I'd like to go to the World Cup in 2026. The Olympics are in LA in 2028. So you guys can start saving up your nickels and dimes and keep sending them my way so I can go to these things.
Yeah.
These bucket list things.
Yeah. I'm running out of time. It's one of the things. So
George keeps telling us about going to the Olympics in Montreal in 1976, and I don't care what I would go watch necessarily. Obviously, there's things that I'd like to go watch at the Olympics, but to go watch even like the beach volleyball or judo or something, it would just be cool to go. Go watch.
It really is, and I even have to say this: when we were in Montreal, we even went to a soccer match. Israel and Mexico, 1-1 tie.
See?
What can I say?
46 years ago, he remembers it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
What else we gotta talk about? Anything?
I think that kind of covers it.
Well, like I said, you told us how busy we were. We probably could go on
There
forever.
are just a lot of sports going on, and I do know on Saturday, I watched football till, well, about 9:45, and after that, but Saturday football, everybody kind of left me alone, and I had to do a couple of chores, but for the most part, Saturday football is alive and well, and I was, I'm hoping for another good Saturday.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.